One, two, three. Okay, we're on live this time. I'm calling this one possibilities and probabilities. It's kind of a prophetic line here. I've been mulling it for years. I'm following it. Put some pieces together. A lot of people were going to label this as conspiracy theorists, crazy things, but I'm used to it. I get it all the time. And then facts start pouring out. After I start speaking about it, I start pouring it out and people start commenting. So I'm going to lay this out just for you. In 1990, George A.W. Bush said the words, "Welcome to the NW New World Order." Remember that? Those of us alive, and those just being born, you won't remember it. But anybody who was alive in 1990, remember the day he was elected, George A.W. Bush said, "Welcome to the New World Order." Let's skip over to 1992. On the 14th of June is the date. And in that day and on that time, Agenda 21 was brought forward and passed for on a vote of all sitting delegates in 1992 of Agenda 21. So now you've got this here. Now you're going to skip ahead to 2003. And America and Iraq go to war. They were accusing Iraq of having chemical labs and doing things that are supposed to be against the Geneva Convention. Chemical warfare was barred along with other things at the Geneva Convention. All nations signed to it. They wouldn't go down that path. In spite of, we have evidence of Syria doing it and several other nations doing it on their own people. Not a word has come out of the UN, and it had America done it, you know what it's going to be all about. So America, they send a UN delegation over to Iran, and they do a search, and of course the UN people stand around with their hands in their pocket, delegation, and not really seeking and talking to them is why they're there. So there used to be trucks moving in between lab, as they played kind of a hide and go seek game, playing idiocracy with the UN observatory crew that were down there. And they go search the next lab and find nothing. In the middle of the night, would move again, and they come to the third lab, and this kept going on to finally just say, "No, you're not going any further. This is it." It got too tiring, too expensive to keep moving stuff around, so they said, "No, this is it." So the UN said, "No, sorry, we couldn't find anything." Went lab, everything. There's just like 2, 3 labs left, and we don't believe there's anything there. America is crazy. For that, they went to war, and the Iraqi government fought hard to keep American troops out, but in the end, a special SEALs unit and a Marine unit were able to breach past the lines and get into the areas and start to kick open doors and search, only to find that there was evidence that there's something there, but it disappeared before they got there. Evidence that were there. UN said they could not find any evidence. So they didn't have time to scrub the place down and disinfect or remove any traces of elements by the time the troops got there. But nobody was able to account what exactly was there, nor there's any record of what was found there. Those books disappeared, vanished, were either burnt or destroyed or disappeared. So you got this happening in 2003. Let's skip over to 2014. Everybody's going Trump, 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 Trump. Let me remind you, in 2014, a president of the United States, not Donald R. Trump, but by the name of Mr. Obama, talked about viruses being released in the world that they weren't prepared for. And thousands of people would die before a um, vaccine could be available. They were not prepared. So you got 2003, 2014. Obama talks about this unknown virus. Don't forget 2003. 2018, Bill Gates comes across and says we don't have an inoculation. We don't have it. When not if when the virus, the unknown virus, is released is the word, operative word, is his words. We are not prepared for it, and thousands will die. 2019, the next year after that, COVID appears. It's before all the way to Christmas time before anything's mentioned of it, and by 2020 in January, everything's going to lockdown. In 2001, we're going to back up a bit. After before 2003, there were these T-shirts that had the letters OBEY, obey. They talked about don't think, stay asleep, do not question. These shirts were worn by our youth, which are now in their 20s, and weren't questioning. And today we have a lot of youth who aren't questioning, aren't looking, aren't doing the quote science, and stay, they're asleep. We talk about the woke, but the woke people are all in denial and sweeping things under the carpet and not questioning. They say, oh, well, look at the science, but scientists who go against the agenda are being silenced and not allowed to talk. Only ones that keep with the governmental spiel on the whole matter and are presenting with the New World Order agenda to be able to simply go along with us. And you're being conditioned, people, whether you like it or not, on certain aspect. It started with wear a mask. We all did it. Some so help us. I mean, we want to help. Later on, I told you that um, the mask didn't necessarily work to that level. So, but we were told once the inoculation started and moving forward that in the end it would be okay. We could go back to normal. Here, not that long ago, they're talking. We will never, ever, no matter what we do, return to normal. So when you look at all these things that are piling up around us, you got to ask yourself what is going on, what is happening, because obviously we're being lied to, controlled, and manipulated. There was a news article today I was saying for years that says only a stone throw away. We're already complying. We're already complacent. We don't really pay attention to what the media is saying. We don't really pay attention to what's going on. And because of that, we are now going to be going to, excuse me here if I'm off camera. I got to charge this tablet up until we don't go dead. Oh, wrong side. Let's do this. I'm going to put you down a second here. I should have made sure this was charged before I did this video. My apologies, people. There we go. 1, 2, and 3. Sorry about that. One more adjustment. There, you're in. And charging. There we go. Now, where was I? Yes. So you got all this happening and they're controlling it. I said to them, they're giving a paper, like, a passport. And I said it's only a matter of time before they realize that's stupid, because people could get lost. They could get stolen. They could be destroyed. I've had my inoculation papers for a number of years were wiped out in a basement flood. They put these things in storage for safekeeping and aren't careful, and therefore things get wiped out. Some people lost theirs in a fire. Part of my family history was wiped out in fires. So you want determination, so that's not good enough. So it'd be a simple matter of putting on your card, your health card, that you've had the inoculation. But again, people point out those things have been hacked and the information stolen. Somebody wanted to get at you, they could remove the virus inoculations that you're getting, and therefore you'll be called, come back, and say, no, we don't have record, you'll have to redo it. Or they didn't work. The only way they're coming up with, and I've been saying this, being herded toward the chip, and it was on one of my media platforms, that they're realizing that the best way to do it is actually in a microchip, which monitors your body temperature to tells you whether you're getting sick if the bacteria, because it's all been labeled as an experiment. Anytime you hear them talk about COVID and this vaccination, it's all called like an experiment, not reality. It's not like your flu shot. or your smallpox shot. You are a guinea pig to see if they work or what improvements they need to make. How many people become infected and how many people get other things. And we've already had blood clots and people who didn't have the disease suddenly getting the disease. And people without immunity killed inoculation. But they're sitting there going, this isn't going to work. We need something better. And the RF chip can be inserted on your body. And therefore, they're able to monitor your vital signs and stuff to see if you're sick or if you're healthy. Plus, they can scan you from a distance along with facial recognition as to identify who you are. So if you're entering into work and you're carrying it to help control the COVID, of course, they're telling you stay home, stay home, stay home. They want to batten you down till they get this thing in place, and we accept it. And the Bible says that no man would be able to buy or sell except they receive the mark of the beast. On the 14th of June, 1992, Agenda 21 was passed. Read it. I've told people, read it. I talk about it, they call me a conspiracy theorist, but read it. One of the things is 7.5 billion people, some at that time, and now we're approaching 8 billion people on this planet. Way too much. The planet can't handle you. So we have to cut you down. Reduction of the world population by 50% or greater by 2032. We're at 2021, so they're stepping it up. Best way to monitor us to see where we're sick in his health is to get that chip, and of course some of us are going to refuse the chip. Some of us are already refusing the vaccine. We are going to be labeled, as we already are, by talking about things like this as being dangerous. We have to stop and think about this, my friends. One world government, cashless society, government control, schools, colleges, and universities directly responding to governmental approved agendas and nothing more and nothing less. You are going to be brainwashed, and we see it in our junior schools. We're not being taught rational reasoning. We are now being taught a political agenda. All left. Up until now, our right and freedom was to choose. If you weighed everything out and deemed it true for yourself, you could accept it. But now anything on the right side is considered crazy, unlawful, and illegal. Eventually, they'll start arresting us and throwing us into these concentration camps, which we saw set up in the late 80s, early 90s. Interesting. We saw a lot of black op operations and trials under George W. Bush from 1990 on to year 2008, just prior to the COVID and other things happening. So these are very clear. Single family, you want one more piece of it, take a look around you, particularly in larger cities, and try to find a single dwelling family unit house. A lot of them are boarded up, being bulldozed down, and condos are being put up, being deemed affordable. Have you noticed how many seniors are on the streets now because they're so affordable? Have you noticed how many poor are on the streets because they're so affordable? You're allowing 1 million people in every year right now, and I just watched a video of how that works. Time you do the population, this is not the way to do it. And yeah, and the fact that the people coming up here from Brazil and those places come from the area where the gangs rule, who've had a hatred for America, and as soon as they start crossing the border in mass, we saw Democratic riots, we saw Black Lives Matter, we see Antifa and other groups growing like wildfire. While they prosecute one group of radicals, which I believe they should for attacking, of the ultra-right, they turn around and ignore the attacks that are happening, the burning of cities, the defamation of property, and the destruction of not of the big businesses, but the small mom and pop businesses in those areas under the guise of white supremacy and colonialization. The factor is they're not replacing it with anything. If these people were really concerned about where things are, they should go back to their countries and take a look at how things are right now, where a lot of the African countries, etc., are now under dictatorships. While you are throwing rocks and burning trees to the ground and killing people left, right, and center and just going mad wild and because Black Lives Matter, Black Lives really matter, don't you think you should also be looking at the things that are going around and the crime? The majority of crimes of death with blacks is black on black. Majority. That being said, there are stupid people out there in law enforcement and other areas. Definitely, they're doing things to provoke you to anger. When a person with 26 years experience grabs their gun accidentally and shoots somebody thinking it was a taser, I'm sorry, 26 years, you know exactly where that weapon is. I'm only a common citizen and I know better. I know every policeman's utility belt, where they keep their bullets, their gun, their taser, their handcuffs, and other things of tools of trade that they need. So don't tell me it was an oops, because 26 years you can do it blindfolded, or should be able to. And I would support equal, full, and if I was your mayor, you are lucky, because if I was your mayor, you'll never see this probably unless somebody shares it accidentally to you. I would make sure that you were the full brunt of a full federal prosecution with nothing more than, should you be found guilty, death. And I would have you up on treason charges. And if I was president of the United States, not only would I pursue such measures from the American viewpoint, but I also would pursue it against everyone who were rioting in the streets, having arrested and charged for that. So you guys are lucky. People like me are deemed crazy. But I once pointed out to social service workers that it's better me to take my kid over in my knee and spank him than allow him to do what he wishes to have him clubbed to death by a cop. There's two rules, one for the elite, one for us. The quicker we realize it, the faster we're going to be able to gain control. But if you're going to lay down like puppy dogs and roll over and play dead, that's exactly what you deserve to be, dead. So in the future, remember these words. This is a video. I don't know if they'll censor it or even delete it. I'm sharing it out and I'm saving a copy. I'm hoping to save a copy so that we can later on review this and keep pushing it out. Till the end, to us who are believers, I remind you completely of our fight with shutting down churches and pulling down crosses and burning buildings to the ground. All lives matter. We need to take stringent action in quiet, meaningful protest. Dollars count. Dollars count. And that's all I can say. In the meantime, to our brothers who are suffering with caged churches, and for those that have had theirs padlocked, and for those that are now in jail, and for those that are being fined essential fines, know that we stand with you as Messianics. And know that we will not roll over and play dead. You know, in the end, that may be our price that we pay when people in Canada and the United States start being killed for their faith and belief. When I see fellow Christian brothers standing beside Muslim brothers, calling for us to cease and desist and just obey and comply, I am reminded of Captain Picard, who said, I am not a Borg. I will not be assimilated, and I will not comply. I'm more Vulcan. Live long and prosper to the end. Amen.